Hello guys, and welcome to episode 26 of my Stellaris playthrough playing as the Schistocerca Alveare, and today, well, things are going to have to change. We have had a lot of things happen since the patch, and you guys in the comments have suggested some really good ideas that I have decided to take on board. So just to start off, something quite simple that a lot of you were going on about was just to keep these guys in orbit. These are the ships that are upgrading. Once they are upgraded, we will click the return button in order to keep them in orbit. That should lower their upkeep cost apparently, so thanks for that. I didn't actually know that was a thing. Obviously I knew that there was the spaceport thing that you can get. I can't remember what it's called. Basically you could build, there you go, the engineering bay and get the minus 10% ship modifier for ship upkeep and the orbit modifier as well. I think there's another one that actually reduces upkeep on orbit, so one of the spaceports somewhere will probably have one of those. But that's the first thing. The second thing is we are going to have to purge a lot of population. So this is going to be the mighty Schistocercan purge of 23-21, where we're going to go around and absolutely destroy the population that want to be independent. So what I'm going to have to do is find out who's where. So for example, we've got 1 on Vermapt, 1 on Vergand, 7 on Torek Mog, 12 on Vi Summit. So we're going to have to go through all of these and kill them. So let's go to Vermapt first. This might take a while, so please bear with me. So there is one population on here who is not happy. How can I tell which one it is? That is the question. I mean, they all look pretty happy to me. This guy needs to be enslaved. But other than that, that seems to be fine. Now, actually, before I move on and do that, there was something else that was really bugging me. One person mentioned that a lot of my slavery that I put on previously had been undone. So I'm just going to check my empire, go into planets, go on to a sector, jump into one that has slaves. They've all been emancipated. Okie dokie then. I'm not quite sure what to do about this. I think what I'm going to have to do is probably just kill everyone. And it's kind of annoying because this is almost what I wanted to do from the start. The idea of the Schistocerca was that they would thrive across the galaxy before they met anyone. Then when they met someone, they would kill them and take over their planets for themselves, as opposed to enslaving that species. They would just annihilate them and take the planets they wanted. That was the idea of the Schistocerca from the start. And it's almost what I'm being forced to do now from the game, because my tactics no longer work with the new slave changes. And I'm going to have to go back to doing it the old-fashioned way of just mass genocide and then taking the planets that I want. And there are plenty of planets that I could take. So, yeah, we just got to figure out where these guys are. The first one was on Vermapt. I don't think that one actually matters. I think the ones on Vi Summit matter more. So let's go to Vi Summit, which is at Karos. So there's a lot of malcontent here. And I think all the ones with the low happiness are the ones that are causing the problem. So these guys are fanatic collectivists, so they have the slavery tolerance, which is fine, which means they can be enslaved and they don't care. Whereas all the other guys are terrible. So we are going to have to purge all of these population. Goodbye. And yes, this will harm my economy massively in the short run, but I am going to have to just cut back on my fleet and focus on other things in the meantime. So apologies for the really annoying purging sound, but you're going to hear that a lot as a lot of this crawl population is slaughtered. I might actually get rid of these guys as well, just because they are not fanatic collectivists. And that way, the rest of the population should remain happy. Make sure I've got all of those right. These guys are fanatic collectivists. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so that's that planet dealt with. The next planet will be Tauric Mog. And this is indeed the great, I think that's actually a perfect name for it. The Great Schistocercan Purge of 2321. So, at Avalam, we have Tauric Mog. So a lot of these guys are collectivists, not fanatic collectivists. Which means I'm going to move, well, what I'm probably going to do is just slaughter everyone who is not fanatic collectivist on the planet. So it's just this population here that has the slavery tolerance. Or could we get away with maybe just keeping all the collectivists as well? The main problem with that is it encourages ethnic divergence, and I do not want that to happen. Or ethic, is that ethic divergence or yeah, ethics divergence. That's what it would encourage, which is not ideal. So a negative number means that the pop is likely to conform to the Empire's ethics, and is thus normally a good thing. Okay. So let's just purge the ones that are unhappy for now. I have no idea why this one has 0% happiness. So let's stop the purge there and see what happens. Okay, so they were enslaved, but they're not anymore. If I enslave them, they're actually happy about it. So I don't know why it would have stopped them being enslaved. I'm actually really confused. Let me just enslave all population on planet. These guys are still not happy, so we'll purge them. But the rest of them should be fine, and these guys can get purged as well. Yeah, so that should be fine, as long as the sector doesn't change them back to being emancipated, because that's what's causing the unhappiness. Right, so we are slowly sorting this out. I know a lot of you guys may not be interested in this, but it is going to take a little while. I guess I'm not really sure. Like, I would skip through it. I just think that this is genuinely an interesting part of the game. Like, having to manage your population like this is, to me, is quite a cool thing. The changes do happen in games, and having to deal with that is something that I think is important and something that is relevant to the playthrough. Now, we have 2 planets named Velkornd, which is quite annoying. So we'll actually just jump onto these planets and have a look at what's going on. So these guys have the xenophobe trait. Why are they not happy? Because they were enslaved. Not entirely sure how long that was enslaved lasts for, but there we go. It looks like the sectors have been trying to manage that, and therefore they've been unhappiness. Or unhappy. Unhappiness. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So 5 populations on Velkornd. I think it's these 5. who are all unhappy. So we'll just enslave them, or purge them, sorry. And this is going to absolutely ruin my economy, but there's nothing more I can do. So, the sector separatists for Val Mapt will be fine from now on. Hopefully. So now we've got to look at the Zvrak Liberation Underground, which starts on Vak Wak. So that is here. None of these guys look happy to me. But how many of them actually are supporting that faction? 2. 2 population. So I believe they are all enslaved, or they should be all enslaved. If I enslave them all, will that reduce that? Yeah, it got rid of them. Okay, so we'll just keep them enslaved. If we go to Jekanal now. Okay, same system. Maybe we should just build robots on this one. That'd be the easiest way to do it. So, Jekanal is 7 population. If we just enslave them all, does that work? Let's have a look. Enslave. I believe that worked. Okay, next one. Fraknir Izater. Fraknir. There we go. And these guys, if we enslave them all. Now, I do think that this may be a problem. Because if they are under the malcontent slaves faction, this is still an issue, and I may just have to purge them. But we'll do it once. We'll do it one step at a time. I think that is the most important. At Vibindak, we can go there and get rid of some population. I believe these will all be just enslaved population in order to fix this problem. But it will move us on to a different problem entirely. So we will just enslave them all. No idea why Vibindak does not have any buildings there, but that is something that I'm not going to worry about at the moment. And then the next one is Binjul. I'm having to type all of these in, so I do apologize if you can hear the keyboard. So Binjul, 9 population on here. Wow, okay, let's enslave them all. So that's gone down to 1, which is on Zeldra 2. We should be able to get rid of this entirely. But there's just something so satisfying about, like, the thought of how realistic this could be in an empire sense. It's actually quite crazy to think about. There is 1 population on here causing a ruckus. I have no idea which one it is. So we'll just enslave them all. I mean, none of them are happy anyway. Okay, now we got the Verlad's first fighters to deal with. So we're going to purge probably the majority of them. So we'll head to Vivalam, which is at Zarmaton. And if we enslave them all, okay, that gets rid of a lot of the population. And the next one is Kroldar Prime. So maybe this is just an issue of my sectors not controlling the population properly. In which case, I'm hoping there is a way of me telling them to keep everyone enslaved. Because that's fixing things, it's just adding to the malcontent slaves. But it got rid of one of the biggest factions so far, or most successful factions, so that's working in some ways. We can go back and just get rid of the population that aren't very happy later on. So any slaves that are going to rebel, we'll just slaughter them. That's the idea. So on Pithaj Mog, we just want to enslave all. and then on Aram. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Please bear with me. So, via Aram now. Let's go ahead and enslave all of these fellas. So that's got rid of those guys. We have 194 docile slaves, which is great. They don't want for anything. The Atavarish sovereignty... What was that? Sovereignty what? Hang on. Sovereignty faction, okay. We need to get rid of some of those guys. So at Tavaldra. We need to make sure they are enslaved. And at Kadmana Mog. Right. Now we have Purge Protesters, which is where we're killing everyone. No problemo. The Verl Your Freedom Movement. Where are they? Verl Your. Of course. Verl Your. Is that just these guys? I mean, I'm just going to purge them anyway because they're a terrible population. But everything else should be fine on that planet. There's a couple of population that are lacking the fanatic collectivist trait. I'm just going to purge these guys. I think I actually took out that faction by doing that. And now we have the Emancipation Movement. Free all slaves is what they want. And how are they getting on? So they have an 18.5% chance to gain 10%. Crazy stuff. We're going to have to deal with that. So we've got 202 docile slaves now. 23 purge protesters, which we don't have to care about because the population will be killed off. And that's it. So we got to deal with the malcontent slaves. So I guess we'll start by doing that. So, to start with, we are going to Volgand. Congratulations, Volgand. You are the first to be killed at Andak. Now, I'm not entirely sure if by purging so many population at the same time, it's going to cause issues. So I think we need to get rid of these guys anyway. And we need to get rid of the malcontent slaves, which should be somewhere here. These guys need to be enslaved. Don't know why they're not. Those ones are fine. Who's enslaved but not liking it on this planet? I've no idea. Might be these guys. These guys need to be purged anyway. Because it might just be support for the malcontent slaves. Maybe these guys? Yeah, it was them. Okay. So now we can go to Spiria. And do the same here, which was a couple of population, I believe. The trouble is, a lot of them are not happy. So, we might just have to enslave them all. And see which ones are slightly happy. So these guys have the collectivist trait. Let's go ahead and just purge all of them, except that one. Because they're quite happy. So if we can let them reproduce, that would be wonderful. Great. So next up is Fraknir Izata. So that's all these birdie pops. We will probably keep one population here, maybe. Honestly, it looks like that might be a planet that I just completely get rid of. So none of these have the collectivist trait because they are individualists, which is terrible for me. These guys have got rid of the individualist trait, so that's as good as I can get on that planet. So I'm just going to purge them all, and we will stop the purge of that particular one. Okay, so that's got rid of those. I think it brought back the Zvrak Liberation Underground, but they'll be dead soon, so that doesn't matter. Right, moving on to... Don't know how I took a screenshot then, but apparently I did. Zvrak will be at Kota. And they have 6 population who are unhappy. Well, that must be all of the slaves. Right, if I just enslave them all. So that takes people from the emancipation movements, puts them into malcontent slaves. None of these slaves are happy. So, what I'm feeling is... What type of planet is this? It's a continental world. I could move population here. If I keep 5 population on the planet, let me just purge all, and then I'll unselect, stop purge. I'm going to keep all the energy ones, I think. So I need to kind of like write this down because I'm not going to remember to do this otherwise. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not 5, that's 4. Then 5, that'll do. Okay. So, the first one that I need to go back to is Svrak. And I'm going to basically move Schistocerca population onto that planet from one of my other planets. And we will then kill off the rest of the Uvzant. Right, next one. See, this is taking quite a while. I do apologise. Honestly, there isn't much I can really say other than if you don't particularly like this kind of micromanagement, it's probably going to last for the rest of the episode. So I would suggest sort of skipping on to the next episode maybe and moving on from there. If it's obviously not out yet, then I apologise. But this needs to be done, and I think some people find this quite interesting. I definitely think, you know, I'm actually quite interested in this kind of like management. Other people, not so much probably. But the next one is Vakwark, of course, because there's loads of population here. I think we're just going to have to do the same with this one. It's another continental planet, I believe. Yes, it is, so we can move population onto it. So if we go to Vakwark, I'm just writing this down at the moment again, we will purge all and stop the purge of specific population which are working on energy, because that's what I need to save at the moment. Okay, then we have Je Canal to go to. Now these are a lot of the planets that I'd already visited, so that's just here. We can purge all this population. I'm not sure if robots count towards the population count of a planet, which is why I didn't count them in the last one. If it does, then I can just get rid of them anyway, but I don't know that yet. So what I'm just going to do first is purge all their population. We will stop the purge of 5 population here that are working on energy. And maybe one that's working on minerals. And I'll write down the planet name. This is getting intense. Like, it almost reminds me of when I used to play puzzle games. When you play like Broken Sword. Like, Broken Sword's an awesome game. And you'd play like puzzle games, and you'd have to write down notes because you couldn't remember like where stuff was, or like the combination codes and stuff like that. And honestly, like, the nostalgia that brings back for me is crazy, because I used to like play games with my granddad. It's quite personal, but yeah, I used to play games with my granddad back when I was young, and it used to be like puzzle games that you'd have to write stuff down. Anyway, moving on to bid resim. Are any of these guys happy to be enslaved? No. What type of planet is this? Arid. So we can do the same thing here. Right, so we will keep this fella because he's mildly happy. We will purge all. We will stop the purge of that guy. Stop the purge of that one. Of course, these two as well. And the last energy tile. Okay, so that is bid resim. And now we can move on to the next one. It's going to take a while. Honestly, I think I'm going to use this episode to do this, and then I'll skip in between the episode doing the rest of it, and then I'll continue with another episode after that. So apologies if you wanted to see me do all of this, but I think there's only so much that I can really show you guys before it does get tedious, and it probably is already. So yeah, I mean, it gives me time to talk to you guys, which I don't often get. And I am very thankful to all of you guys in the comments who give me ideas and stuff, and this was one of them. So you can't really blame me for doing it because it was your idea. Right, we'll make sure all of these guys are enslaved. This Damana population, I'm just going to kill them because it's just another species that is going to get in my way otherwise. And we will keep the Neberites for now. So we will purge them all, and then I will stop the purge of 5 population. Actually, this is a Arctic world, isn't it? Yeah, and we can actually get a colonist onto that planet, so I might just get rid of it. I might just do it. So the first thing I need to do actually is build some colonists. Get some colonist ships. Right. Then they can go to Finton. And also to Edor Vang the Second. Although that's a very small planet. I mean, I guess we may as well go there anyway. You don't get any negative modifiers for just colonizing, other than the initial colonization penalty, but that will do. So we'll just kill everyone. These guys are dead. They're all dead. Purge them all. Now we will move on to the next guys, which is Zeldra. Well, I don't know why I keep saying the second. Zeldra 2. Zeldra 2. Full of Neberites. I think this is a tundra world. I can't inhabit yet. what to do. Ah, do these guys have... Yes, they do. Collectivist trait. Fantastic. So that means I can purge everyone except them. And we'll enslave them. Great. That is perfect. That makes that one nice and easy. Moving on to Toric Mog. Well, I spelt that wrong, which doesn't help. And they are at Avalam. So, these guys... There is 8 population on this planet that are not happy about being slaves. Can you see which ones that is? So I guess there are some population that will need to be purged. These guys can be purged. Any ones that have less than 34% happiness, I suppose, will have to be purged. Maybe. I think that might change when I unpause. Let me go to Ata Belish. It's good that these names are actually so obscure, because it does mean that I can find them pretty quick without having to type in the whole name. That's a tundra world. And where is it? It's actually right in the middle of my lands. I can colonize that continental world right next to it. So it looks like that might be a full purge. And, well, that has been my time. So for some of you, this will be a relief. But you have been watching the Schistocercan Purge of 2321. And we are destroying a lot of species in the galaxy before we move on to our next war. It's going to dramatically affect my economy, but hopefully we can sort that out by maybe having to get rid of some of my fleet. But either way, guys, that's all for now. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.